Oh yeah, Matt. The reason you didn't realize it's 86 is because for some reason we're kind of skipping one.
Oh, right. We haven't
Oh
done
yeah, have
Brie
we got a
Larson
guest
yet.
lined up or?
No, maybe we'll just do that one next week. Next week is Eternal Sunshine, but if you're willing to double header, we could
I
put
already
that
watched
into.
Eternal Sunshine because I thought it was this week, so that's fine by me.
Okay.
Well,
So I can
Bucky
watch Bucky
Larson, is
Larson.
that the? Yeah, all right.
That's the real that's 87, right? But
All
you
right.
but you were Genki and scheduled this, so we're doing this. It's not like they have to be in order anyway, As long as they get released
In
in
Well,
order.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah. In at number 86, it's the reason we're all Team Jacob.
Yep. Being the Wolfman and Lava Girl. In 3D, The Adventures of Wolfman and Lava Girl. In
is this
3D,
typecasting? Is the
Jacob.
wolf is a fanged animal a typecast?
Yes.
This guy?
Is he actually Native American?
I Now Mark was saying we don't do research for this, which
Am
isn't
I
completely
racist
true.
now?
I do
Well, no,
some
I'm wondering
background
if
reading,
Hollywood's racist if they keep
I,
typecasting the Native American guy as
Uh,
animal characters.
but I
yeah,
did
because
not
straight up
look up
I
Tara Lautner's information.
his IMDb picture does look kind of like a werewolf or something. I don't know, man.
He is an American actor. Okay.
He did great. He's a great
Bernie
shark
Mac
boy.
show.
What can
I've
I
liked him in
say?
pretty much everything I've seen him in,
Wow, he's only
which is, to be
31.
fair, the Twilight series and this.
I haven't
Even less for me. Just this.
from LA. Oh, here we go. Lautner has Dutch, French, and German ancestry,
Yeah,
and he has
okay.
stated that he has distant Native American ancestry through his mother, which basically
Probably because
he
people
doesn't.
criticized his casting in Twilight.
So
All right.
that could be it. Okay. What is this? It's Films and Filth. It's the Citizen Kane of podcasting. This is Matt here. There's Luke over there.
Hello.
And it's Mark.
Oh, I was gonna see like Luke could pass the ball, but he didn't do that. So Mark just introduced himself.
Snatch the ball.
Okay, now you
And
finish
passing the ball
introductions.
to our guest, Phil Freeman, back again.
I guess who's salutation.
Okay,
All
now pass
right.
me the ball. I'm gonna dunk.
All right.
Oh no!
All right,
I
take
fell on
it.
my dick. Oh.
Oh no.
I can't feel my dick. I can't feel my dick.
I'm hanging out with the cheerleaders laughing at Luke's dick.
Oh man, I'm back at high school for real.
Well, speaking of,
We're gonna take you back to grade school for this one, and a school bully. We get that in Sharkboy and Lavagirl. Now, up until I keep mentioning the Blu-ray apocalypse last year, where I picked up the Spy Kids movies and assumed this was a Spy Kids movie, but it's not a Spy Kids movie. So that
It
No.
more or less is, but it's not.
I just
it's like,
I
what if
thought
Spy Kids was fake and it was just some kid thought about it?
Right.
Except all the stuff he thought about didn't really make sense. But also, he goes inside of the Spy Kids, and the Spy Kids keep asking him to do things. Anyway,
Yeah, I was like content. I was content that I had this, $4, $3, 400 yen to get all the Spy Kids movies. I was like, I'm set. So I get ready to watch this a couple nights ago. No, I'm not set at all. I don't have this movie, so I had to go on the prowl, which isn't a problem, but just yeah. I thought I was.
Oh, the
set,
good thing about this DVD was that it came with the red and blue 3D glasses, as well as the Spy Kids 3D one as well. So you could get like a ton of them. I actually had like hundreds of them because I worked at a movie theater when Spy Kids 3D came out. But you could also use those same glasses for the DVD, which you couldn't do with like the modern 3D. It only works with like the red and blue. So that was kind of cool, especially if you were a kid. But
Oh yeah, I watched it in 2D. I'm just on my computer, and this is when 3D was still garbage, like
well,
fully
I mean,
garbage.
the thing is, 3D was accessible. I felt stupid when I looked at IMDb when I was like 10 minutes from the end. I'm like, oh, I could have just watched this with red and blue glasses if I could find any, and also could find the right video file, which I did not.
Say you would need the right video file too.
Well, yeah, I assumed automatically that it was like Avatar 3D, like that you have to have the.
This is kind of a meme movie, so I assume there's probably like a 4K 3D rip, like on Pirate Bay or something like that. Because there's a lot of kids.
I found like a 1080p rip just literally by putting the title into Google.
It was on archive.org for me. So
But
A
it
lot of
was
movies are.
really slow to watch, so I ended up paying Amazon just because I got fed up with the website.
Uh,
You
That's
download
always it. If piracy is more difficult than just paying for it, I'll pay for it.
it.
Yeah, it's funny because they just keep taking things off of streaming, and then it feels like it's not worth it. But
Yeah.
back when it was sort of like if you had Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, you could mostly watch whatever you needed to, then it was worth having those three things. And not so much anymore. But
Yeah, now I need to have Netflix, Disney, Hulu, Amazon, Paramount Plus.
They'll be the same
yeah,
company soon.
yeah. Hopefully they'll all be merged with F movies, which is where I saw this.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Okay. So, initial impressions. Yeah, this came out when it was the end of 2000. Okay, I was in America. I just didn't care. Okay, I was about to say I was in Japan for the first time, but that's not true. I was an American. I just, I was definitely watching a lot of movies, but I didn't watch this one.
2005.
Yeah,
I was, I don't know, 27.
something.
I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Let's do math.
I was
Uh,
14 when this came out. So I would
yeah.
say I was precisely the wrong age because
Mhm.
this was this was not cool
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is like
to a 14-year-old boy.
I just did a
I
Goofy movie, and that came out when I was like 15 or something. It's like, yeah, that's not the movie I was going to go see at that
See,
point in
whereas
time.
I loved the Goofy movie because I was the right age.
Well, I just watched it. It was fine. It was good, but yeah, I obviously wasn't the market to go see it in the theater
yeah.
at that age.
Yeah, I watched Space Jam in like 2015. There's a lot of this stuff where I watched Spy Kids 3D when it came out, partly because of the cast, and I didn't really care for it. However, it might be better than this, but I
I
don't
watched
remember.
Spy Kids 1 with my brother at the theater, and
Mm-hmm.
I was 11, so he would have been like 4, so I guess probably maybe it was his first film in the theater.
I got all
And
four on Blu-ray. I can check for you.
it was fine, but I never chose to watch any others. And yeah, I remember this coming out, and there's a generation of kids slightly younger than me who I often see, meme about this film. But yeah, there was no way I was watching this when it came out. And I think even if it had come out when I was the right age, I think I would have hated it.
Yeah, it's
It
weird
reminds
because
me of Last Action Hero, which
No, I always hated the oh, it's all your imagination. The power of dreaming is what will save the day.
Mhm.
As a kid, remember that when I was 3 years old, I was watching Commando and Terminator 2 every day. So
Yeah.
even as a child, I had no interest in stuff that pandered to how children's imaginations are special or whatever. I was like, no, I want to see an actual Sharkboy. Give me
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing. If if this was real, if it was just if Sharkboy and Lavagirl were real and they were in charge and they were, took front and center, I would have loved this.
Yeah,
It's
if it had
not
just been played completely straight, I would have liked it way more.
I guess you just didn't do things like that in 2005. Like you weren't supposed to. It wasn't
Well,
cool
you
to
say
just
that,
make a
but that's
thing.
kind of what Spy Kids was. It's
Yeah,
just literally about kids who are spies.
and like I don't at all want to throw Robert Rodriguez under the bus because I mean he made Battle Angel Alita, which is one of my favorite movies. Period of the last 10 years, and
Hmm.
that was straight up about a robot who was a robot. There's no subtext, and it's great.
the
I don't,
Rodriguez thing is because he's such an auteur in the '90s, right? He's Tarantino's buddy is going to be one of the biggies. He kind of is one of the biggies when he just
yeah.
started. I guess got into this thing around 1999 where he's like, my children will be my muse, and started. This story is credited to his kids, which is a
Yeah,
little bit
and that's
funny.
the
his
thing
kids
is that
basically like it's this kid, like the journal is this kid's journal from real life. And he's done that a lot since this movie. I think Spy Kids he did that a little bit, but he started like bringing them in as part of the crew to a degree. There's like mixed things about that. The one thing I do like about that, I was like watching the trailer for Inside Out 2, and the whole thing is about the new emotion is anxiety, which makes me think about like how Pixar movies are literally made for adults and they pretend like they're made for kids. I do like that he made a movie from the point of view of a kid, literally. Like he was like, "This is what my kid is into. I'm gonna make that movie from his point of view." I think that's and he
That-
made it in his backyard. It's like for like,
I-
which is cool as well.
That's what I
I
was saying last night. I was talking on the phone with well, Scott, who we mentioned here and there, but I was talking about the movie, and I was like, if this were your neighbor, or was I talking to Mark? I don't remember.
It was me.
It was you. Yeah, I was like saying,
He said
if
if
this.
you
Okay, you say what I said.
I asked if you thought it was bad, and you said, well, it's like if your neighbor made something, made a movie in their garage and you want to be nice to them. And I was immediately countered with, is it my annoying neighbor who I don't like? And then you were
Yeah.
like, no, it's your neighbor who you do like. It's like, okay.
That's where I tracked when it
That's
was
the
you,
thing.
because Scott wouldn't ask that
Uh-huh.
question.
Yeah. The thing is that I didn't look up that it was his kid that wrote it basically until the very end. And I kind of wish I'd known that earlier, because it made me feel a little softer about it, because I looked at this as that he was trying so hard to relate to kids that it was completely cringe. It didn't work for me. If I'd known that it was really a kid who wrote it, I might have not thought
knew-
like that. But it
I
doesn't
knew
feel
that
like a kid
coming
wrote
in.
this.
I knew that
Okay.
coming in.
Yeah. It weirdly feels more like an adult who is trying to write this than a kid. And that is strange. But I guess that's just what sometimes happens in translation.
Well, let me plop the story out just to make a crystal clear plop, a plop of
Mhm.
Crystal Pepsi, something like
Good
that.
luck.
Max is a fourth grader in Texas. While his parents are about to split, the class bully Linus has him in his sights, and his teacher breaks multiple teacher-student conduct laws. He has created the dream planet Drool. There, Sharkboy, a lost child raised by sharks, and Lavagirl, of indeterminate origin, live as heroes. But once Linus steals and defaces Max's dream journal, Drool begins to decline. Lavagirl and Sharkboy appear at Max's school and whisk him off to Drool to fix things there. They confront Mr. Electric, a villain who looks suspiciously like Max's teacher, but are defeated and cast away into the dream graveyard. They make their way out through a vista of strange pun lands, find that Minus, a dream version of Linus, has taken charge of Drool, and are recaptured. But Max Max retrieves his dream journal, but Sharkboy and Lavagirl are defeated by Mr. Electric. Max then discovers his powers as the Daydreamer, which allows him to bring back the heroic duo and restore Drool. They chase a Mr. Electric filled with genocidal motivations back to Earth and defeat him right outside of Max's classroom. There's also an ice princess somewhere in all of this. I felt like I could mention her, but then my synopsis just got like that much longer, so it didn't happen.
She
I
felt a
feel
little
like
tacked
you
on.
mentioned too much of this film. It's meant to just wash over you, I think.
You should have seen the wiki plot, The wiki plot was like 10 paragraphs.
You know that if this was my episode to do the plot, I'd have been like, Max is a kid who daydreams. He goes into his daydreams and learns how to apply them in real life. And that would have been it.
Oh man. Yeah, part of not knowing it was a kid who wrote this, I've spent some of the first 30 minutes feeling like this is some kind of like libertarian jerk off dream film
About pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
about if you
Not if it's a
imagine it, you
jerk-off
can
dream.
do it. Why don't people dream anymore? Why aren't you ambitious enough? It's like it felt like that for a minute. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Who has
And
a
it's
dream
just
journal?
that it's I have at some point, I think. I know you do, right?
Yeah, I got 100 pages plus, but I haven't written anything in it for 2 years.
I thought about it repeatedly and never
dreams.
bothered to do it.
It takes work.
Yeah.
A lot of
stopped
times I'll write
journaling.
down in like the middle of the night thinking, oh man, that's gonna be so good. Like I think it's like gonna be a funny bit that I dreamed of. And I try to read it in the morning. I have absolutely no idea. it's ineligible what I was trying to like come up. Like I was like, oh no, this makes so much sense. And I'm like, I have no idea.
I've had those. I've had ones where I've woken up with an idea so good I had to write it down. And in the morning I realized it doesn't actually make sense.
I've written songs in my dreams. I've woken up and taken them down and they've been decent. I don't remember which ones they are, but it's happened.
While I have extensive dreaming, I'm not sure I've ever like created anything in that way through a dream, which is interesting.
The one I really remember is I came up with a cartoon character called Fission Pigeon. And I woke up like, that's such a good rhyme. Why has no one done that? And then in the morning I realized, oh, they don't quite actually rhyme.
They work. It's better than like 2/3 of the electric puns in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though, man, George Lopez is on fire in this. Like, I want him to be a fucking Bond villain after this.
My
movie.
favorite actual moment of this film is that when the real teacher comes face to face with Mr. Electric, and he's like, "You imagine me as a bad guy?" Because like the
Yeah.
teacher's not actually that mean or anything.
Yeah, that was all in my notes. I'm like, why is he so evil in the dream? He was like a good teacher. He was trying to tell you to make friends and shit. It was, I don't know, and seeing his face blown up like that works so well as like a visual gag. I don't know, man. It was
It looks better than MODOK does in the new
I saw
Quantumania.
loads of memes
Like,
comparing
I think
You're
MODOK to
right.
Mr.
You're right.
Electric.
like it looks as stupid, but it works. So like it makes more sense, and it's not like visually repulsive. Like,
and also I mean, not to get too far into it, but that appearance in that movie is also sort of shitting on a beloved comic book character to be like, haha, look at this. You thought we were gonna give a shit about the comics, and then it's just this fucking guy, and he's gonna die anyway. It's like there's your fucking MODOK, you comic book reading idiots.
I haven't seen this shit. Guess I have to look up MODOK
Anyway.
now.
Well, I whatever. Watch the Patton Oswalt show. It's probably better. I haven't watched it, but
No, I during the holiday, since the used store had a bunch of the Phase 2 and 3 Marvel stuff on sale, or used and cheap, I bought
This is like
several and
5.
rewatched them, and they're I'm talking, these are cheap and
older
used
ones.
now. If I want the
Yeah.
newer ones, they cost more. So, but we were
I
watching.
haven't
those, I was
watched
like,
the
yeah.
last like 4 Marvel films, but I'm about to see Godzilla -1 for the 3rd time tomorrow.
I've seen it twice, and that's more
I'm
than I've
watching the
seen
black
any.
and white cut tomorrow.
Oh man, I don't think we're getting it here. I'm just gonna have to watch it on disc. But
Godzilla -1 minus color.
hell yeah.
When in this movie, when his parents showed up, I thought they're two prominent actors, but I thought they were two completely different prominent actors. Oh, I thought it
I
was Katie
really
Holmes
thought
at
I
first.
recognized the guy, but it turns out I didn't.
I think
I
it's
thought
David Arquette, right?
he was David Arquette, but I thought he was someone else for
Yeah.
3 seconds. And then
Well-
Kirsten Davis, I thought she was Katie Holmes for about 3 seconds
Well,
until I looked it up.
the parents' performance was possibly the most baffling thing in the movie because they sort of acted like giant children, and I didn't understand that. Just his mom shows up and says, "My cookies, my giant cookies." Like, what the hell is going on with
The movie was
and
written
then
by
their
children.
dialogue at the end, when they reconcile at the end, it's just this weird thing where they just say nice things to each other while they're getting sucked up by tornadoes that they don't seem to care that they're getting sucked up by tornadoes. Anyway, a 7-year-old wrote it. It doesn't matter. I should feel bad even picking it apart a little bit.
well, I think
But
it's strange
you
about
don't
the
think you
movie.
have to feel bad because it was released in a movie theater for people to pay money for.
50. It was his highest budget movie that he had ever made at that point. You
That made
understand
my
this?
brain
It was
hurt.
$50 million movie.
How?
Was there? Is that a true fact?
Dude, when you look at IMDb, look at the list of people who like auditioned for these parts. It is insane. There are
Miley
something like
Cyrus was almost in
25.
it.
I know when he made Death Row
Unbelievable.
Photo, he like made it for 20 million less than what they gave him a budget for, and was like, "Can I just keep 10 million like free?" And they're like, "Okay." So maybe he did. Because he had a movie come out this year, which
Ing.
got no advertising at all. I didn't even know it was coming out, and then like I looked into it, and it seems like it was some kind of scam from some investment company, and then they're like claiming it had this huge budget so they can like when they go bankrupt. I don't know. It's a whole weird thing, but I think a similar thing happened with this movie where he just pocketed a bunch of money because they were like, "Oh, Spy Kids made all of this. Here's whatever," and he's like, "Sure, and I'll make it in my backyard and keep 20 million like just for
I
myself."
mean, that only
I
makes
mean,
me
I
like it
respect
more.
it if that's the
I
case.
respect that shit. Yeah, dude.
Again, because like
If you can
he
steal
made
from a big
movies
corporation,
that
it's
look-
always morally correct.
Sin
You're
City
right.
looks amazing, and it costs like way less than that. So that movie is
Yeah.
beautiful. Like it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Sin City.
A lot of this CGI is quite questionable, but I guess a PlayStation 1 game also has a large budget.
I came into this expecting to hate the CGI, and I didn't hate most of it. Like the only thing I really disliked was just the structure of that the main character was basically held hostage by his own dream and kept having his own dream ask him what to do.
Okay, I think I have
You
the
know?
CGI sweet spot for this. I wrote halfway through, which I know Mark can attest to this. Luke cannot. Philip, I don't know. Is this Disney Quest the movie?
Sure.
It gave me a similar headache to Disney Quest.
Yeah. I bet especially if you watched it in 3D, it would feel like Disney Quest.
Yeah, definitely. So that was kind of like, just it's the same reason Babylon 5 is supposed to be great, but I just cannot watch it because that first season is just so violently CGI terrible looking.
To me, it's like I treat this CGI the way I treat Muppets. Like, you don't complain about the Muppets because they don't look as real as the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Because they're not meant to, they're Muppets. And like, this CGI doesn't look real, but I don't think it's really meant to.
Not
It's meant
real,
to
just
look like a dream, right?
it is, but my dreams look better in this.
Well,
Yeah, until you try and
yeah,
look at a detail, right?
There's some
yeah, but
really
if you
good
watch the replay,
surreal stuff with the visuals. I mean, it's not like the most mind blowing stuff, but for a kids movie, it gets pretty weird. It looks like an avant garde CD-ROM from like 1998 sometimes.
yeah, I straight up liked the sharks. Like every time the sharks were on screen, I was happy, and the Mr. Electric looked cool to me. I mean, I was like, all right,
You were
well,
talking about how you wish they were real, like it was more approached as if they were real characters, not all in his imagination. And I thought that first sequence was the best, like visually and like because of that. It was like as if they were real characters and they were just living in that world. And I just want to say one thing about that. He puts him in his tub and like fills it all the way, like the shower. That's exactly like Shape of Water. And I'm gonna say Guillermo del Toro stole that from Sharkboy. Just wanted to point that out. Anyway.
I mean, yeah, I think spoilers for the sequel to this is that canonically Lavagirl and Sharkboy do hook up, so that also is like Shape of Water.
I didn't
Wait,
even
there
know there
was
was a sequel.
Is it the
Yeah,
weird?
2020, we can be
It
heroes.
is, it is rated too highly to be on this podcast at a 4.7.
Oh, too bad.
It's called We Can Be Heroes. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's good or not. It's on Netflix.
Everyone supposedly hates it, but it like brings in like all the kid characters from all of his movies. I believe some weird because yeah, he made that other one short as well as the Spy Kids movies. I don't know, whatever.
I don't know about that.
But or the original kids movie. You got you know his sequence from Four Rooms.
4 Rooms.
Which
I was going to bring that up because that was the
Spy
beginning of
Kids.
Spy Kids, right? That
But
was
it's way
incredible.
vulgar and yeah, it's great. It's the only thing good in
That
that whole
was
movie.
You're right. It's the by far the best thing in that movie. The worst that movie also contains the worst thing Quentin Tarantino's probably ever done, which is a short where Quentin Tarantino just talks at people the whole time.
I saw that on opening night, which is why I can remember nothing about it because I haven't seen it since.
But I think he's really good with kid actors. Like the main characters of this movie are three kids, and they're fine. Like that's hard to do. Like most of the time, that's a recipe for even if they're like good, it's still kind of hard to get. And he
Yeah.
usually
Even the villain kid is like having the time of his life like an adult actor does when they're playing a villain.
Yeah, it's like I didn't care for Max all that much, but he was not anywhere. He wasn't bad, you know.
Yeah,
He
it's not
was
like
a
I
lot
didn't
more
dislike him because his performance was bad. I just disliked him because he was a wet blanket and I wanted to watch the Sharkboy.
Yeah, it was character problems. Sharkboy and Lavagirl actors were amazing. I mean, they reminded me a lot of Spider from Avatar 2. How it's like
Okay, yeah.
basically when I was watching that, the feeling I got from Spider was that this is like theme park energy, which makes total sense because he was acting. You don't usually see somebody going that hard when they're acting opposite, CGI creations. And that's like the right thing to do is to go in and just give it maybe 110% as if that was possible. But 99%, give it as much as you can.
I mean, it makes sense, right? 110% of what a real person would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so
yeah.
like the only time
there are
sense.
mathematical situations where 110% works. Don't worry.
You're right. Like I could eat 110% of a burger just to get an extra tenth of a burger.
Well, like a pepperoni contains 160% pork.
Oh yeah.
So much pork.
Exactly.
So I'm going to put this in two questions. One of them more divisive, probably. The first one, is this a film you could Lucas? Could Rodriguez go back and just like make the shit look better? Because for me, even in 2005, I would have been like, this looks like crap. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the performances are generally pretty good. I'd like to see the performances against like a better backdrop.
I don't think he should.
Okay.
I think you should just remove some of the puns digitally.
Yeah,
I
the visuals I think work for what's going on.
yeah,
My issues are
I'm
with the story and concept.
yeah,
You
I wrote
add
down my
a song sequence like in Return of the Jedi special edition. You know, if we're gonna do special editions,
Oh
just
yeah,
go
if
all
he's
the
gonna do stuff like that, I'm
No,
all
I
for
don't.
it. Just go in and add more ridiculousness.
yeah,
But like
add
go in
like
and like, we're
15
gonna upgrade
sharks.
the textures to match modern CGI. Like, nah, get out of here.
Yeah, dude, just put like 300 sharks in all the shark scenes.
I don't think it would.
Don't do
It'd
anything
be
else.
like Ocarina of Time look like on the Unreal Engine or something. Like that just looks stupid. It looks good as a cartoon. I think
Yeah.
it works better that way. I don't know.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah, the classic Nintendo hire this man tweet.
well, yeah, the only thing Ocarina of Time really needed was just more frames per second and better targeting, which they can't really do the second. So the PC port does look pretty good. But what the hell am I talking about? Oh yeah, I
Zelda.
wrote down my least favorite line in the whole film.
Sure.
Usually, if you snooze, you lose. With Max, you snooze, you win.
I thought that
That
was
is one of the
great.
worst goddamn lines I've ever heard in my
I
life.
enjoyed that. That was kind of
He
funny.
delivers it well. What he delivers it makes it work for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
He
I
seems
tried-
really bored.
I just kind of pretended it didn't happen right after he said it. I just erased it. I instantly erased it from my memory.
Oh god. Okay, I have a question mostly for Matt and Luke, but Phil, you might field it too. If your students had a nightmare where you were the giant villain, what powers would you have?
Hmm.
It'd be an hologram of myself and the Cookie Monster. It'd be yeah. I'd be
All
a
right,
Mine,
giant-
I
well-
guess. So I live in Japan and Japanese people are very skinny. So I'm often accused of being fat. So I would be like the blob from the X-Men.
Nice. Phil, what would you
Or if I wanted
you
to
were
be more
villain?
generous to myself, sometimes they compliment my big muscles, so maybe I would be like the Hulk.
You
My-
just be
my-
like 6'2" and it would frustrate everybody because you're just a little taller than everyone they've ever seen.
Oh, I should throw in that.
I don't know how
Cookie Mountain-
tall you are in real life. You might be 6'2" for all I
No, I'm
know.
like 5'7".
Okay.
By the way, Cookie Matt would be a kaiju. He'd be like 500 feet tall. Just to
Yeah,
make
Matt's
sure that's
pretty
clear.
tall in Japan.
I think I'm
I mean, you're
Am I shorter
moderately
than
tall
you?
even in the West, I'd assume, Matt.
I think that's average height. I'm 5'11" and a half, so I'm
I think
close
we're the
to
same
tall.
height. That's why you.
I think
probably
Phil
never
is
noticed.
taller than me. I can't remember.
It's probably changed since then, but at one point I was like the exact average height of a human.
Nice.
But obviously
good-
that
it's good.
includes all races and and all genders. So
It was like I was this tall when I was basically 10 years old, so I got a lot of, oh, you should
Oh.
play basketball.
yeah,
like,
kind of
whatever.
same because I was like kind of tall as a kid, and then everyone leapfrogged me a year later.
Yeah.
Technically, you every size, right? You started like this, and
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I was very short at some point.
Well, none of the bigger sizes, but smaller, sure.
there was
What
that
if-
one dude who was a dwarf and then became a giant.
Is that the
He like had a late growth spurt, so he was a dwarf for like part of his adult life, and then was like legally a giant because he was like 7'3".
I
That
thought you were
sounds incredible.
And then I think he died in like his 40s because body's not meant to do
Yeah.
that.
Amazed he made it that far with that kind of shit. Phil, what about you? What would your dream nightmare form be?
I'd probably be like a horrible fuckboy or something where they like think I'm trying to be cool, like still at the age that I am or something. Or just some stupid like I'm still trying to be hip to these young kids and they all think I'm like a loser. So I don't know how. I guess I would just look like the bully kid.
Yeah, I might be somebody who like goes and beats you at video games a couple of times, and then you beat me, and then I act like a dick.
You're just describing yourself more or less, right?
No, I'm nice. I'm nice when I lose. I'm a good loser.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You aren't a dick in the end, but that sounds. I mean, the
I
video
had to
game,
test
that
my good
happens.
loser ability yesterday because one of my kids made me play Mario Kart with him, and he gave me the most busted fucking controller, put all the weirdest settings on.
That sounds like I love it when like that does actually happen, but every time someone says that, you're like, busted controller, eh?
This is a kid who has to play his Switch in tabletop mode because his Joy-Cons no longer connect. And he has to use this fucking brace thing because he's snapped off the stand. Like everything he has, he just chucks it in his school bag loose.
I could tell you what happened in my class with this kid last week. If you want to hear that, that was kind of
Oh,
fun.
go on. I always love
Sure.
hearing how other people are terrorized
It was
by him.
It was him and another terror of a kid, and the class was like sports. It ended up in the end. They spent about 20 minutes where they'd grabbed my ukulele, and one of them had a flashlight. So they turned the lights off. One of them was spinning the flashlight around like a strobe light, and the other one would sit there trying to be a rock star with the ukulele, and then they'd switch places. And
That actually sounds amazing.
That sounds fun.
It highly entertained them for a good 20 minutes. I was like, well, at least they're not breaking anything unless that flashlight flies off. But that didn't happen, so I guess that win.
Man. Briefly returning to the video game thing, is that one of the most bullshit things that ever happened was when I was like a teenager, I had this girlfriend who was constantly stuck babysitting her, I have 3 younger siblings, and I played one of them at the mall in Mortal Kombat, and I killed him with Sub-Zero and froze him and broke him in half over my head. And later on, he told her that he had done that to me. It's like you little shit.
Oh, well, let's
Anyway.
get back on topic. If I played Mario Kart with Sharkboy, I think he'd beat me. If I played Mario Kart with Lavagirl, I'd beat her, but I'd be cool about it.
Well, she'd melt the controller.
Well, yeah. If I played Mario Kart with Max or the bully kid, I would beat them, but I would be a dick about it. Like
that's like the four alignments of the
yeah. It's just
authoritarian or whatever. Yeah.
I shouldn't say this as a teacher, but there are some children you meet and you're just like, yeah, I get why you're bullied.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is that
don't go to school repeatedly and tell the other children about your dreams that they know they make fun of.
Yeah, Mr. Electricity.
When you're meant to be writing a diary about real events.
I think the movie kind of finds the centrist answer where it's like you can be a space case, but pay attention sometimes. Like it's a pretty good moral.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's just he should have learned that lesson at a much younger age.
Oh yeah, they should have been holding him down and beating him up and just spitting in his face.
Well, it's like almost. I don't remember anybody getting bullied for drawing or even talking about. I mean, there was a girl I went to high school with who was very open about having an imaginary friend, and people talked about her, but I don't remember anybody being directly mean to her. It was just
also sort of like. They actually, most of the kids weren't mean because the next day they all came in and were like, oh, I've made up a fun character too.
Yeah, it's even though a lot of them had paper to throw at the beginning, which this movie sort of, it commits this sin that a lot of movies like this do, where it makes the bullies seem super cool at the beginning, which is not how real life is. Bullies are usually pathetic and kind of embarrassing. And it's like the worst offender is probably Stephen King's It, the most recent movie, where the bullies are just like screaming and they're like, ah, and they're like driving cars around and enraged constantly. And I'm like, that just doesn't have, like, bullies are generally bored and boring.
I think, the other thing is most bullies, like, I don't think they actively think they're bullying. They think they're having fun, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they have to gaslight you. They can't just go, yeah, that's right, you're stupid, and then they cross their arms and look really confident and happy about what they're doing. That just doesn't fit.
They usually would, like, yeah, he would act like he's Max, which they kind of go into a little bit where he's like, oh, let's be friends. Yeah. But yeah, that's more like what actual bullying situations end up being like.
I wonder if that's the secret sauce for Cobra Kai, because we get that in Karate Kid where we get the cool bully, but then 30 years later we get Cobra Kai where he's bored and dumb, but he was the whole time basically.
Yeah, that's part of why that works, even though I haven't watched it. But anyway, but I love that George Lopez is basically yelling at both of these kids equally through the entire real world, which is the right thing to do, because they both need to just get over them. they probably should be best friends. I bet you fast forward a few years, even if this crazy shit didn't happen, and they just would be friends with each other. Because like you don't obsess over a kid's journal that much if you aren't kind of jealous and actually want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Which makes sense that he would just be up in his dream world. But we don't. The movie doesn't really go into that a whole lot, except for, I guess.
Sounds like a brilliant psychological analysis of these children, from what you're saying.
Well, you
Like
know, that's all I do is psychoanalyze children all day. That's my
I
I
job.
do think like he does get children, right? Like there's a reason these films were successful with kids.
This
Oh,
one,
I
not
I
so
think
much.
so.
He made
Dude,
them
just-
with his child, so I guess it makes sense.
Like I think this is like the weakest one, but and it's more like a vanity project thing, obviously. But like the Spy Kids movies are genuinely pretty good, like especially the first two. Like I think those are some of the best kids movies ever made. Like, and they get even this movie is full of a lot of imagination. Like when they're using their powers and stuff like that, he comes up with like a lot of novel ways for them to do it, more so than even a lot of superhero movies do. He
Oh
always
yeah,
has
yeah.
like
I
they
hate
point
that
out
most superhero movies take interesting powers and then just become two characters shoot beams at each other.
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
he has
even-
to problem solve with it and stuff like that. Like
The things like, oh, it's the Scarlet Witch and she can control people's minds, and that lasted for all of like a third of a movie, and then she turns into somebody who is upset and shoots beams. Well,
That's all
Spy
CGI
Kids
goop.
3D is at a 4.4 on IMDb, which is a little lower than We Can Be Heroes, the sequel to this. Spy Kids 1 is at 5.6.
That's it.
Which
I remember
is-
people liking that when it came out.
I mean, that's pretty high for a genre film, I think.
For a children's genre film.
Children's genre film, yeah.
Remember that there's gonna be like bored parents who write reviews on IMDb, just like my kids made me sit through this.
Like, let's go. Okay, The Goonies, 7.7. Still not as high as you might expect
that's
for something
reasonable.
that people consider kind of perfect.
There's some problems in that movie.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
didn't
think
watch
I
the
don't think
Goonies
it's
till I was
perfect.
an adult, so
Me-
I would
me
give it a lower
too.
score than that.
I saw it when I was 20 and it still didn't really work, but it was just sort of for people who were kids when that came out. I don't know. E.T. has a 7.9, so it's, ballpark. Most
My
of the
problem with
stuff on the
Goonies-
good list is Pixar
Mm.
for kids, that is. However,
And yeah,
you
like
feel
we
about
said,
those.
Pixar kind of
It's for adults.
Well,
Because
I was,
kids are going on IMDb and
Most-
rating films.
well, most kids, I think, probably prefer Illumination stuff to Pixar stuff.
now
Let's
10
see
years ago,
where-
probably not, but
But it didn't exist, man.
True.
Despicable Me sitting at a 7.6, so that's pretty close to the other two I
Yeah.
just mentioned.
Pixar just got into that rut of like a formula where it's just like, oh, it's and like a metaphor for something, and they're objects that aren't usually alive, and now they're alive. I don't know. They just got too much of the same stuff, or they get too adult, and I think that's their main
Yeah.
issue. It's like at least Illumination, and they also Illumination has like more like Warner Brothers cartoon kind of humor in it, whereas like the Pixar movies can be kind of stuffy sometimes, or this occasional Wall-E has some WB stuff, but Illumination is straight up Bugs Bunny type humor throughout, and that's gonna reach kids are gonna love that way more. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
I love that way
mean,
more.
yeah.
too.
I mean, we're gonna get into it late on a later episode, but to me, Wall-E kind of falls apart when it starts trying to talk about humans.
Well, it falls apart when people start talking.
Yeah, literally,
Really?
The silent half of Wall-E is so much better.
it's amazing.
Yeah. I think honestly, Wreck-It Ralph is probably better than Wall-E, and I don't think that's on any of this good list, because that's the thing, that Wreck-It Ralph is like a pure story. Basically, both of those movies, they have things to say, but the things that they have to say never get in the way of just the fun. in my
anyway, I did want to go. That's a good segue. Compare this to the Japanese title here. Of course, is Inside Head, which is somehow more amusing. But I
more of a ripoff of Herman's Head.
yeah.
Yeah, basically.
What's wrong with that? I don't know why they changed it in Japan. Luke, you got a feeling on that?
What's this one?
Inside Out becomes
Inside Out.
Inside Head.
Probably because the term inside out isn't like a used phrase in Japan, so it's a pun that would mean nothing.
Oh yeah. good
Yeah.
point. Okay.
It's very important for the Japanese for the wordplay to either work or sound cool. So
Right.
maybe they didn't think Inside Out would work, so they're just like, Inside Head sounds cool.
Anyway, that's obviously not Dreams, but it's almost the same idea. Can we?
Hmm.
I mean, I assume that Inside Out does it better than this movie.
I've heard that Inside Out is actually popular with child psychologists because it's useful for explaining feelings to children.
I have not
But
seen it.
I've not seen it, apart from when it's been on at work, and I've seen it in Japanese piecemeal.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when a Pixar movie gets a reputation for making people cry or upset, then I just don't watch it.
Philip, have you seen Inside Out?
I did. My only real problem with that movie is that the central conflict is like she moves or something. That's like I
Yeah.
thought it should be like
What's
her parents getting divorced or something like that. Because I don't for the way that the movie makes it like such a huge deal in her head. But maybe I just had a really rough childhood, so I'm like, whatever, kid, get over it. I moved like 10 times, like when I was like really young.
well,
But
that almost fits really well with the Toy Story movies, because if you really think about the stakes there, it's usually like, oh, you aren't going to take a box of toys to college with you, is the whole conflict with like the third one, I think.
but at least that's like not inside someone's head, and inside out, it's like her whole world is being destroyed, and she's like complete, like as if she's like
Yeah.
suicidal or something, and like all this other stuff, and it's just because she like has to go to a new school. And I'm
Like,
like,
in
Yeah,
Toy
and
Story, we
like
don't see Andy being torn apart by this decision.
yeah,
The
yeah, he
toys
just
are just
kind
sad
yeah,
about it. Andy
of
has
yeah.
like
yeah,
a little moment of nostalgia with the kid and then moves on with his life.
yeah.
Well,
It's but that's the whole thing. It's just the directors, whatever the animators talking to you through whatever means they feel like talking to you. Maybe Andy's inside things are just like serial killers or something.
well, my second question, I guess, is only directed at Philip then, since you've seen it. But I was gonna say, is there some things that you would consider that Sharkboy and Lavagirl do better? And putting words in your mouth, I guess the fact that the conflict here is a potential divorce could be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, but they leave that hanging, so I don't know if that really counts. I was like, they've set it up, and it feels like so out of place, and like it should, if they're gonna throw that in this movie, it should have some kind of. It has no impact on the kid. He's like, whatever. My parents seem like they're getting divorced, and like moves on with his life, like, which is I guess kind of funny. But uh, do I think? I guess this movie. Do I think it does anything better? That's a hard one because I would probably rather watch this movie, but I can't. I'd say Inside Out is probably better on almost
Well,
every
I think
way.
that is a thing that you can say. The thing it does better is kids actually want to watch it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
meme. It's got people have
I
memed
mean,
this movie. It has like prequel meme levels of like there are tons and tons of people like referencing this, which I don't think anyone really references Inside Out. I don't know if that necessarily means it's better, but it's
a little bit.
more not. I think it is more novel. It's more unique and like weird that this guy made this movie, whereas Inside Out just feels like kind of like another Pixar movie. It's like a slightly more clever one, but this that
Yeah,
is one thing I'm always looking for in movies. It's like this movie just feels like no one else would have made this. This like exists only at this time with this director at this moment. Like no
Mm.
other time could this weird confluence of events allow some strange thing like this to happen. So that's why it's better than Inside Out, which was probably like
all right.
focused for like a decade or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Also ripped
Mark, you
off the
mentioned
numbskulls.
Mark, you mentioned Toy Story 4, so I have to go on a quick aside. I finally filled in a few of my viewing gaps. I
Mhm.
watched Toy Story 4, which
Oh wow.
one thing the most impressive thing it does is justify its own existence. Because as we were saying
Yeah.
with Toy Story 3, why the hell did they even keep going? So it justifies there being a Toy Story 4. That's good. And the
Yeah,
other thing
Mercy
is
finally watched it as well because it was on our plane to Mexico.
and
All
it's
right.
I
funny,
didn't know.
which Toy Story 3 isn't that funny. I mean, there's a few good jokes, but it's not
Yeah.
that funny. Where Toy Story 4 is like much funnier. So it had that going for it. The other long talked about film that we never watched is I finally watched the Schneider cut.
Oh.
Here's my review.
Piece of shit.
That's my review of the Schneider cut.
Oh, you mean I shouldn't subscribe to Max so I could spend 25 hours? What? I don't know. I haven't seen either cut of that film, so I don't know. I
They're
do
both
think
bad. The Wheaton one is fun. Again, it's funnier. It's more fun. The Schneider one is just like
that
4 hours of gritty.
but the Whedon one, you have to like deal with the fact that he was basically making everyone's life hell the whole time they were working on it and erased the black guy's storyline.
So in the
So
end, just you can
it's
skip the
not
Justice
ethical
League
to
is
watch
the
that one.
main you can skip the
Oh,
well. It's not like
God.
that one's good either. They're both like middling in different ways. So
I liked Wonder Woman and I liked the Suicide Squad and Birds of
The
Prey and whatever else is just whatever. I mean,
I have those in my DVD.
I kind of
folder, but I
liked
haven't
Man of
watched them yet.
Steel.
see, yeah, I didn't care for that one because it was just there were reasons. It felt everything on Krypton looked
Oh,
like an Xbox game, which
I'm
was
not
like
saying I
fine.
loved it or anything, but
Yeah.
it basically ended with a Dragon Ball Z fight. So
Yeah, the fighting, the hand-to-hand combat in that I loved, and I love Michael Shannon. I'll just watch Michael Shannon do whatever.
yeah,
That wasn't stuff I had a problem with. It was that I didn't like Earth, and I wanted the Kryptonians to win.
yeah, I
Which
kind of
means,
see that.
yeah,
My
that means you
favorite
kind of
part
didn't
is
do a
where
good job.
Kevin Costner dies just to prove a point.
That was so stupid.
Why is he
He's
doing
like,
that?
wait a minute. No,
No, I'm
nope.
dead.
Ah!
That's so funny. Okay, sorry.
Did
That
you
was
like
my
Man
tangent.
of Steel? I feel like you're not participating in our Man of Steel discussion. Did you care for it?
I was fine with it. I like mostly like what you said. I thought that Zack Snyder should make a Dragon Ball Z movie. It's my main takeaway from that. I actually think that India
Yeah.
should make now because like if you watch like RRR or some of their new stuff, they love Zack Snyder, but they've kind of figured out how to make it like way more impactful and fun. Whereas like his
Dude.
stuff gets a little bogged down in the shit. But
I hadn't thought that before, but now I'm 100% on board. Yes, there should be a Bollywood Dragon Ball movie.
Yeah,
or like a
they do it.
bizarre adventure or
I'd be the
something. But
king
like
of
that kind of
films.
like speed ramping of like action, like that can be done well, and I like it in bursts of his movies. But then like the pacing and stuff, like always, I don't know. I feel this similar to his movies that like there's like cool stuff you can look up later on YouTube, but I never have to watch it again. The only stuff that I of the entire DCEU, I think I could ever watch more than once because I like sometimes go back to some of those and just get bored. But I do find the Aquaman movies to be very watchable, and I like the Birds of Prey movie. But the
Me and
Aquaman
Matt
movie,
enjoyed the first Aquaman. I haven't watched the second.
I
like,
haven't
he
seen
leaves-
Aquaman,
I'm
but
thinking about seeing the second on Monday, just because it looks so ape shit.
Have you seen
nobody- one
Godzilla
guy-
yet, Matt?
Seen what?
Godzilla?
No, I'm too chicken
Then
to watch
don't
without
go see
subtitles.
Aquaman.
Okay, that
Man.
won't then.
I will stop doing this podcast if you watch Aquaman instead of Godzilla.
you should definitely see Godzilla over Aquaman. But I just like James Wan's like sensibilities. Like he leans really hard into the goofy shit. Like there's just talking shark people when they ride robot sharks with laser eyes. And he just really
Yeah.
goes for it.
I saw the trailer and whatever that guy
I
was
like
with the
this movie,
mantis,
actually.
that
It's
suit,
so awesome.
that
Yeah.
robot
Black
suit
Manta.
that guy had looked rad. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
Black
yeah.
Manta.
Me
Yeah.
and Matt both turned to each other and like, are we watching fucking Kamen Rider?
They're like
Yeah,
Jules
dude.
Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, kind of like robots. And then also there's like Cthulhu type monsters at the end because they're melting Antarctica and it's kind of like in the mouth of madness.
Yeah.
Or in the mountain madness. But no, I kind of like really, but it's the real problem with that movie is that Amber Heard was in it and they chopped out like half the movie because of that fact and reshot it a million times. So I'm not going to say that new Aquaman is good, but there's like, you could tell that the James Wan has like a good understanding of how to make that kind of stuff really fun. And
Oh
especially
yeah,
the
next
first,
time I have an airplane ride, I'm definitely going to watch that.
it's a great plane ride movie. It's a perfect plane ride movie. You'll have the greatest plane ride of your life.
Except for you'll feel like you're underwater, but you're in the air. It's the
Confusing.
best irony possible. Yeah, you mentioned 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't feel like I mentioned enough on this podcast about how formative that movie was for me. That was basically my favorite movie when I was a kid, and I watched it as
Well, that's
anytime
why
I
you have a
could.
fish fetish?
Yeah, exactly. Me and Tom
I get it.
Cruise, Eiffel Towering some fish. No, yeah, it's because there was a
I wish
man
this was one of those
screaming-
podcasts where the name of the episode could be a
Stop.
quote. And it could
Was
just be me and Tom Cruise, Eiffel Tower, and some fish.
Yeah, but 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a lot of it is just a madman screaming, fight, like trying to fucking make a giant cool looking ship fight a squid, which is just basically my taste. It's just like a crazy person and then another crazy person going up against him because who is that plays the fucking protagonist? Just anyway, there's a great Saturday Night Live sketch about it where it's just Phil Hartman just screaming 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea over and over, and Kelsey Grammer keeps explaining it to him. But
is anyone old enough to have ridden the Disney World ride?
Yeah,
I think I did.
There's a nice virtual version of it online.
Yeah.
There's someone 3D recreated, and it's kind of fun to do. You can you virtually sit in the little chair and look around with your mouse. And I'm sure you could VR that too if you got the tech.
Oh no, I didn't.
Tokyo
Sorry, I thought it was Epcot.
Okay, no, Tokyo still has a 20,000 Leagues Under a ride, but it's very different. It goes through through something, and there's no water. They put bubbles in the windows of your thing, so it's different. It's just a dark ride, but it's fun. I like it.
30,000 Leagues Under the Sea as like a sci-fi concept is really funny now because like the plot is, what if a man made a submarine?
Yep.
And like, yeah. What if that happened?
But he's like screaming and bleeding the whole time. And
you don't know the submarine conspiracy? Submarines aren't real. They're just there to trick us to be afraid of the water. That and Jaws.
That sounds like Attack on Titan. By the way, Luke, thanks for recommending that. I go back to that because I've been mainlining it. It's fucking great.
Hell yeah.
I guess we should talk about if this is a film or if it's filth. I don't want to call someone this much green screen a film, but there's nothing filthy about it, so I'm going to call it a gloop. A digital ball of gloop.
It's a drool. I don't know.
Drool.
It's planet
Yeah,
drool.
okay, that's smarter, isn't it? It's a drool. It's drool, but gloopy drool, psychedelic drool.
It's a product for children that four men in their 30s and 40s just spent an hour talking about. So I don't think we're allowed to have opinions on anything ever again.
Yeah, I mean, if this was the first version of Wizard of Oz I saw, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a film for children. I already have the 10-star reviews out, most of which were clearly written by children.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
I'm going to speed run a few, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Do it.
George Lopez. My electric is so hot and cool, he needs his own movie. 9 out of 11 found that helpful. Best movie in existence. Don't say you like the anime until you've read the manga. 14 out of 19 found this helpful. An enchanting and inspiring movie. This is an amazing must-see movie. The characters pull you into the excitement of the movie and make you want to dream too, which I guess that person doesn't dream. 4 out of 6. Yeah, okay, here's, I guess, a real... I'll read one that's like maybe not... it's still probably written by a child, but it's longer. It was awesome. Hey, if you haven't seen the movie, get up right now and go rent it. It's a movie everyone can enjoy and is really cool. The actors did really well, and if you are into the whole imaginary thing, you'll like it too. Watch it, enjoy it, buy it, own it, dream it, and do anything else with it that you can. Don't let people borrow it unless you absolutely trust them, and keep it safely hidden so your kids, siblings, animals, or husbands and wives can't find it or put scratches on it. Trust me, you'll be very happy if you keep it safe. That's what I would do if I owned it. With LOL, of course. It was really fast yet slow, which made it really cool. So take my advice. You hopefully won't regret it. Anyway, I'm out. Gotta go and watch it. Catch you later.
All right. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna read one. I'm okay. Sorry in advance. 001010101111. Oi, cunts, Sharkboy and Lavagirl is wicked, yeah? Can't be downvoting on this charade because we all know that this masterpiece by Robert Rodriguez, the legend himself, crafted such a fine work of art that the stars and rating should rocket 11. Break the system and 4 out of 7 found this helpful.
Okay, that's more than 50%.
That one you read just before that, Max, that was definitely a kid who wants a copy of this DVD for Christmas, wrote
Yeah.
that review and was like, "Look, Mum, I wrote a review on the internet. Come and read it."
Also, I think you just called me Max.
Well, it's bleeding through, man.
Dreams become realities. As I
Max,
said,
Max
I
just
thought
dreamed all of us.
I thought George Lucas was dead for like 2 days last week. Well, I read the news in my dream, and then it took me a while to check if that was actually a real thing or not.
Do you guys think that if George Lucas died, that they'd announce the original trilogy in 4K the next day or something?
Yes.
I kind of think it's never happening.
I think
I
he
think
signed that contract got signed with Disney. There is a clause in there that they never get released. I guarantee.
yeah,
Like he would
I
not
think-
sign it otherwise. But I'm sure. But it is Disney as well who will do anything possible. They have the best lawyers in the world. They can
That's the
figure it
thing.
out. I'm sure.
if they were gonna do it, they probably would have done it already. Unless I think either there's a clause that says they can't do it, and a clause that says they can't tell anyone that they can't do it, which makes the most sense to me. Or
Honestly,
they're
the
just
fan-
gone.
I have a
But also-
Disney
I've heard-
solution. You
I've
take
heard
one
rumors that he edited directly on the original masters, so there's no way to restore them, which
Oh,
is
okay.
weird.
I
But
was
don't
gonna
know. I don't know
say,
if it's true, but
well, his wife edited them probably. Okay, anyway,
Yeah,
Right, but it was also a hugely successful series of films. So like, there are cinema
that's
prints out there.
but
That's
he
where the
might
4K
Can
be
be
just.
done.
Yeah,
the
he-
online
I mean, the
days are
despecialized
from-
shit is.
Yeah, from 35 millimeter prints, and then he like drops in like maybe occasional shots from the 4K. But I was gonna say, but yeah, that's the fan stuff is probably better than anything we'll get from Disney. Like Disney's quality is so bad that like when you download like from Pirate Bay rips of Star Wars movies, they don't use the Disney ones. They refuse to use even the 4K because the quality is so bad or something like that. Because Disney doesn't like upload their stuff with any care. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, what I've heard is that just the 4Ks that you can get now that is specialized, that's probably the best you'd ever get anyway. Like even if
Yeah.
they do it officially. Like
And,
I just want to see it once in a movie theater. Is all I really care about.
that would be nice. I've actually done that at a movie theater my friends used to own. We had screenings of the despecialized Star Wars and Empire, but the projector they had installed was sort of wasn't super fancy. Like the night, I'd love to see it on one of the very nice modern like laser projectors. But maybe someday or not. Who knows? But I guess that's both options. But I do wonder if George Lucas is just like, never pay my ex-wife anything, so you're never allowed to release this forever.
is she still alive? I guess so.
Yeah. Wait, I think
I know.
now you got me doubting
What
it.
if the clause is literally they can't release it until she dies?
Yeah, she's alive.
Here's my
Okay.
Disney lawyer solution. You take one scene from each movie, you cut 2 frames at the end of that scene. New cut. That's probably
Well,
that's
have you
probably-
guys seen Star Wars Wars? My friend
No.
Marcus Rosentrader, shout out to him if he's listening or if he's not listening, uploaded to YouTube the entire original trilogy all like transposed over each other, playing at the same time.
Oh yeah, you showed
And
me
then
that.
did it with all 6 movies at the time. Just you can watch all
Now
of
you
them.
could do it with all of them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got taken down eventually, but
Oh well.
they were up for a while.
Yeah, I
YouTube, those
saw that.
before YouTube was hell on earth. On the
Anyway,
internet.
I guess once we've been talking about Star Wars or Marvel for 5 minutes apiece, that means we're probably done with this Sharkboy and Lavagirl, unless anyone
All right.
wants to throw something out.
Yeah. Anybody final thoughts?
I'm genuinely kind of curious to watch that sequel they made.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. And
It's high
also,
rated.
I know we're gonna watch the 4th Spy Kids movie for this podcast, but I'm kind of curious to go back and watch the first couple.
Yeah,
It's
it would be
Fourth is
so
like-
easy for me to do that, but I might not.
I'm kind of
I've-
curious if this one's gonna get like a weird like download bump because it does have like a little bit of an internet presence.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people are doing this movie for their podcasts, maybe.
You're right. That's what it. Yeah, I don't think there is like a big, the prestige film podcasts are probably not doing their Spy Kids and Sharkboy season anytime soon.
Robert Rodriguez probably has like a filmography that like the only thing I can compare it to is Bob Clark, who did like Black Christmas, A Christmas Story, and then stuff like that, like it's 2000s kids movies that are like That Darn Cat or whatever. He did like the greatest horror movie ever, maybe, and then like the classic Christmas movie, and then like a few others. Like he did that Death Dream movie about like a zombie Vietnam guy coming back. That's pretty great. But then yeah, he made like a bunch of just weird straight to video kid stuff in the 2000s because I guess that's what was paying. But like yeah, because Robert Rodriguez, his career like right before this is Sin City, and then like Alita is after this. So like
Way
those are
after
two
this.
pretty high profile. He didn't do much for a minute because I guess he was going through a divorce. But his wife was like the producer. Like I guess it's a Marshall Lucas kind of similar situation. His wife was the producer on like everything he did up until like Sin City or so. And I think when they split, like the way he got funding was different, so he couldn't just make stuff as whenever he wanted as much. I don't know.
I've
Or
got
just
one
the
more
directed-
filmmaker for you.
He directed a couple of episodes of the Boba Fett TV show, which
he was the showrunner.
it wasn't great, but it wasn't his fault. I'd just go ahead and say that.
I don't know how you would make anything good like that, like a Boba Fett show on a Disney Plus. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how that would be.
Was like you can't make a heroic character out of a villainous character who is only on screen for like 8 minutes in the original trilogy. I looked this up.
It should have been like Flux, where he just does like little missions that are cool. Like and he's a badass. That's like
all they had to do, make him the bad guy and have it be like somebody is going after him and Boba Fett's like on his throne, and then then just instead of killing Boba Fett, just have him run away, and that's all you really had to do. You just anyway. Now we're back on Star Wars again.
I want to
but then
back.
Ride or Rancor. Anyway, go ahead.
I want to go back
Yeah,
2
yeah,
minutes.
that is cool.
One other filmmaker who definitely rocks that dichotomy, I think maybe even harder than Clark, would be George Miller. I mean, you got
George Miller and
all the Mad Maxes, Happy Feet, Lorenzo's Oil, Babe, Pig in the City, The Witches of Eastwick. I mean, that's a wild ride.
do we have George Miller? I hate doing this when I'm asked if there are things on the list. I don't think.
I feel like Fury Road is, but I'm not sure.
Lorenzo's Oil is shot like Fury Road, but it's like a drama. It's like weirdly weird. Like it's like he does all the same like smash zooms and all this stuff, and it's like, wait, why is this happening in this movie? It's great. It's
yeah. Well, I'd also put him with Spielberg. I mean, Spielberg has definitely done all kinds of different shit, just whatever he felt like doing, which I respect.
He always had to like try to make it kind of prestigious. Like he wasn't willing to like do some schlock.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I definitely liked early Spielberg better.
He doesn't go to the weird extremes of Fury Road and Happy Feet 2,
Yeah. and Fury Road sits at 8.1, which makes it a little lower than the list.
Okay.
I think Fury Road deserves like a 10 or 9.5.
$5 on Blu-ray last week too. Yeah.
How would you rank these 3 movies of Paprika, Inception, and Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl?
Paprika top.
No, they're all the same.
Inception, movie. Yeah, I put in my notes somewhere that this was kind of like dumb Inception for a while. Now I'd have to put
Inception is still
Inception. I have to put Inception over this, but not by a lot.
I will by a lot.
Okay.
I watched this and Eternal Sunshine in the same bus ride because they're 2 episodes we're doing close. I was like, these are 2 very different takes on films about dreams.
Did that reconfigure like consciousness? Like, I mean, this is baby's first acid trip, right? Isn't that what this is supposed to be?
Eternal Sunshine to me was
just
this
movie.
Yeah.
Baby's first acid trip would be a good sequel.
Yeah, Paprika is so much better than Inception, but also, you know what? Perfect Blue is a lot better than Black Swan, and damn,
Tokyo Godfather is better than the Godfather 3. Maybe?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I haven't seen Godfather 3 actually.
We got to watch the Coda cut. The true vision.
Yeah.
I guess we'll wind down for today. Philip, you got anything you want to plug out to the world like the plugs in this
No.
movie.
I've been kind of avoiding social media. It all seems
Man.
terrible.
Yet here
Plug
you
that.
are in the public sphere.
Hey, I want to plug that. Yeah, don't go on social media. It's terrible.
Were you
I
gonna plug
finally
anything
put
else?
the 1 hour limiter thing on my phone.
Yeah, I've had something like that on my computer before. You know,
I don't spend that much time on social media. That's my
I'm-
solution.
I should take my own advice. I'm terrible. And I don't even interact. I just look at things. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that sucks. That sucks. That sucks. Anyway, but things that don't suck are following us on patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. You can get bonus content. You can find episodes of all of our shows there, or links to all of our shows, right? You can, right? Hey,
Yeah,
podcast
they're all-
Yeah, I
1999.
finally
awesome.
updated that recently.
Nice. Luke Love's Pokemon Game Show, Time Enough podcast covering the Twilight Zone, Occult Disney, Hyrule Field Report, and that is probably all of the podcasts. And I
Yeah.
sometimes
And I noticed recently, like, if you aren't a member and just want to see what kind of weird bullshit we might talk about beforehand, you can get like 5-minute previews without.
cool.
Which
Yeah,
is
that's-
basically the entire extra bit. So
Yeah. And,
You
and
know
if
what?
you go to our
Yeah.
next Patreon tier and give us a little more money, we will suck.
Yeah, and if you give us a ton of money, then Luke will fight an animal in a steel cage.
yeah, an animal of your choosing.
Animal of your choosing. Please don't choose something like a hamster. That would just be sad.
I'm gonna put him against a Sharkboy.
Yeah, he'll fight Taylor Lautner dressed in a shark costume.
Yeah, but only like 14-year-old Taylor Lautner.
All right.
I'm gonna cut it there. That seems like a cut. Cut.
Okay.
Cut. 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 I just wonder if
Cunt.
I could spot that cunt. I was just wondering if I could spot that on the waveform or not.
Damn, I had one final hot take question, but oh well.
Oh,
He
do
hasn't
it,
pressed
do
stop
it.
on the
Well, just
recording.
ask
do it.
us.
We're
Okay.
recording.
Deep Blue Sea is better than Jaws.
No.
That's the one where Sam Jack gets eaten.
Yeah.
Oh
The,
yeah, of course
Rennie-
it's better than Jaws.
Rennie Hartman masterpiece. Sam Jackson.
It's good,
Yeah.
but it's not as good. Okay, it's better than Anaconda. I'll give you that.
Mark,
Is
I
it-
know why you can't accept it being better in Jaws, because that one doesn't have Robert Shaw screaming.
Well, yeah, Jaws has a bunch of angry, surly dudes fucking screaming at each other and smashing things. That's basically my favorite genre of film. It's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with a shark.
Okay.
Also,
What-
Godzilla -1. Spoiler. You'll get a little of that in Godzilla -1 when you watch it.
It's
There's
almost
a
the
Jaws.
opposite. 'Cause it's like a bunch of dorky like civil servants. Like, hey, we can
Well-
problem solve this. Like they're like,
Yeah, I mean, they're surly for Japanese guys. You
Yeah,
don't usually
that's
get
the Japanese
full-
equivalent of screaming at each other.
it's just like we can solve this. Like, that's like Shin Godzilla, where they like solve the. They like it's supposed to be a condemnation of the government, but they do actually like work and solve the problem, which just would not happen in America. So it's.
But I mean, they only work and solve the problem after the prime minister is destroyed by a laser beam.
True, but I still think if that happened in America like that, it would be like a billion times like worse than that. It was just like Godzilla would never do that.
Well, that's part of why watching shit. Your voice is doing something weird, Phil. I don't know what's going on.
Well, fortunately,
It's
we're
like-
the-
it's like
fortunately,
going
we're at the
away.
point where that's okay.
All right.
Yeah, now he's gone. That's trippy. Okay.
Huh.
Well,
He's not
that-
talking either.
That's at the end of the podcast, so it works out. I'm gonna hit
But yeah,
record then.
All right.
I just